Wealth is not built with your hands. It is not stacked brick by brick in the vaults of banks, nor measured only in the coins and paper of nations. True wealth begins in the invisible, in the quiet sanctum of your own mind. It starts as a spark, a thought, a belief, an inner conviction that whispers, "I was not made for mediocrity. I was designed for greatness." But here is the tragedy. Most people never hear that whisper. Or worse, they hear it and ignore it, silencing it with doubt, routine, and fear. They trade their birthright for a paycheck. They settle for average when their soul was wired for extraordinary. If you want wealth, if you crave purpose, if you long to step out of the shadows of the ordinary and into the blinding light of greatness, then you must rewire your mind. Because the world is a mirror, and it reflects not what you want, but who you are inside. Every empire began as a vision in the imagination of one person. Henry Ford saw roads filled with cars when everyone else saw horses and carriages. Thomas Edison saw cities glowing with light when the world was still drenched in darkness. Walt Disney saw castles and kingdoms in swamps where others saw nothing but dirt. They were not richer than their neighbors when they began. They were not stronger. They were not luckier. But they possessed a mind that was rewired to see possibility where others saw impossibility. That is the difference. The battlefield of success is not in boardrooms or stock markets. It is not in the offices of politicians or the classrooms of universities. The true battlefield is the 6 inches between your ears. If you cannot master your mind, you cannot master your life. The human brain is the most powerful instrument on Earth. It is more complex than any supercomputer, capable of infinite creativity, adaptation, and resilience. But most people never command it. They let it run wild, like a powerful stallion dragging its rider across rocky fields. They are ruled by old beliefs, by fears inherited from their parents, by the voices of teachers who told them they weren't enough, by the scars of failure that hardened into shackles. To rewire your mind for wealth and purpose, you must strip away these mental chains. You must demolish the architecture of doubt brick by brick, and in its place, construct a new temple of belief. That begins with awareness. Ask yourself, what is the story you tell yourself about money? Do you whisper that wealth is greedy, that money corrupts, that abundance is only for the chosen few? Because if those words live in your mind, they are the bars of a prison you will never escape. Your subconscious does not give you what you desire. It gives you what you believe you deserve. If you believe you are destined for scarcity, you will sabotage every chance at abundance. If you believe you are unworthy of greatness, you will shrink in the face of opportunity. But belief is malleable. It can be bent, reshaped, reforged like steel in the fire. The same mind that learned poverty can learn prosperity. The same voice that whispered, "I can't," can be taught to roar, "I will." That is the essence of rewiring. Not to become someone else, but to strip away the lies and return to the truth of who you really are, a limitless being, designed for purpose, created for abundance. Think of Andrew Carnegie, who rose from a poor immigrant boy working in a factory to one of the wealthiest men in history. Think of Abraham Lincoln, who was born in a log cabin, self-educated, and yet rewired his destiny to become one of the most powerful leaders the world has ever known. They refused to be chained by the story they were given. They wrote a new one. And so must you. Do not wait for the world to give you permission. Do not wait for circumstances to align. Do not wait for opportunity to knock. Opportunity does not knock. It must be built. And the hammer, the nails, the blueprint, all of it begins in your thoughts. Wealth without purpose is an empty victory. A mansion built on sand. A hollow crown that corrodes the soul. That is why the rewiring must go beyond riches and into the realm of meaning. Purpose is the compass. Wealth is the fuel. Without one, the other collapses. Purpose without wealth leads to frustration. Wealth without purpose leads to emptiness. Together, they forge legacy. And purpose is not found, it is created. It is born from asking, what burns inside me so fiercely that I cannot die without bringing it to life? That is your North Star. That is the voice that cannot be ignored. The mind you must build is not one of scarcity, but of service. Not one that asks, what can I take? But but one that asks, what can I create? The millionaires and billionaires who left their mark on history were not hoarders. They were builders. They built industries, schools, charities, movements, empires. They used wealth as a tool, not as a trophy. And because their purpose was larger than themselves, the wealth came in rivers, not in drops. To rewire your mind for wealth and purpose, you must begin with this single, unshakable truth. You are not average, you are not powerless, and you are not a victim of circumstance. You are an architect, and the blueprint of your destiny is drawn in thought. Every morning you wake up, you are faced with a fork in the road. One path is well-trodden, the path of routine, of small thinking, of average living. It is safe, predictable, and filled with the noise of the majority. The other path is narrow, steep, and daunting. It is the road of vision, discipline, and greatness. Few take it, fewer still endure it. But at the end of that road lies wealth, purpose, and a life that echoes beyond your years. And the choice begins not with your environment, not with your circumstances, but with your thoughts the moment you open your eyes. What do you feed your mind? Do you feed it fear, scrolling through headlines of chaos, comparing yourself to others on screens that glow with illusion? Or do you feed it courage, vision, and clarity? Because your morning is the architect of your destiny. The first thoughts you allow to root in your brain are the seeds that grow into your reality. Rewiring begins with discipline. Discipline is the fire that burns away weakness, the hammer that breaks the chains of procrastination. Without discipline, dreams rot into fantasies. With discipline, fantasies transform into empires. Look at Edison, 10,000 failed experiments before he birthed the light bulb. Most men would have quit at 50. Some would have quit at 500. But Edison rewired his failure into fuel. He said, I have not failed. I have found 10,000 ways that won't work. That is discipline. That is resilience. That is a mind trained not to surrender. And here is the truth no one tells you. Success is boring. It is not fireworks, not glory every day, not applause from the crowd. It is repetition, monotony, relentless execution of small actions done over and over with precision. It is the bricklayer laying one more brick after the world has stopped watching. It is the musician practicing scales long after their fingers ache. It is the writer rewriting a page until the ink itself rebels. Success is the mastery of the mundane, and that mastery begins in the mind. But while discipline builds the structure, vision breathes life into it. Vision is the electricity that runs through the wires of your being. Without it, discipline becomes slavery, a meaningless grind. With vision, discipline becomes worship, every act a step toward destiny. Close your eyes and see not who you are, but who you are becoming. Picture it so vividly that your subconscious begins to mistake it for reality. The mind does not distinguish between imagination and experience. It only responds to the picture you feed it with conviction. That is why visualization is not wishful thinking, it is mental training. Athletes practice this when they see themselves crossing the finish line before they ever set foot on the track. Pilots rehearse in simulators before they ever touch the sky. And you must do the same with wealth and purpose. See the business before it exists. Feel the impact before it is measured. Live the dream before it is born. When the mind accepts it as inevitable, the body moves as if it were already true. But vision alone is not enough. Purpose is the anchor. Purpose is what keeps you from drifting when storms of doubt rage against you. Without purpose, you will sell your dream for convenience the first time adversity comes. And adversity will come. It is not a question of if, but when. The world will test you, break you, humiliate you, and ask, do you really want this? Do you truly deserve this? Look at Lincoln. He faced defeat after defeat, failed businesses, failed elections, deep depression, personal tragedy. Any other man would have surrendered his ambition. But Lincoln's purpose was larger than himself. He was not chasing wealth. He was not chasing glory. He was chasing freedom, unity, and justice. That purpose rewired his endurance. It carried him through humiliation and heartbreak until history itself bent in his direction. So ask yourself, what is your why? If your only answer is money, it will never be enough. Money cannot carry the weight of a soul. It will buy you comfort, but not fulfillment. Your purpose must be deeper. It must be tied to service, to creation, to leaving the world different than you found it. That is the purpose that fuels dynasties, that turns entrepreneurs into legends, that turns dreamers into builders. And gratitude, yes, gratitude, is the mortar that binds it all together. For what good is wealth without appreciation? What good is purpose if you curse the very breath that allows you to live it? Gratitude rewires the mind by shifting it from scarcity to abundance. Every time you say thank you, you affirm to the universe that you are ready for more. Carnegie said it best: "No man can become rich without himself enriching others." But I will add, no man can remain rich without enriching his own spirit through gratitude. Do not misunderstand. Gratitude is not passivity. It does not mean sitting still, content with scraps, whispering thanks while ignoring your potential. No, gratitude is a weapon. It is the reframe that turns struggle into strength, failure into feedback, pain into power. When you can look at your hardships and say, "This too is a gift. This too is shaping me," you have crossed into a new realm of mastery. You are no longer a prisoner of circumstance. You are its commander. So what, then, is the formula? How do you rewire your mind for wealth and purpose? It is this: discipline in action, vision in imagination, purpose in heart, and gratitude in spirit. These are not separate. They are strands of the same rope. Together, they pull you up the mountain of success. Alone, each frays under pressure. And the mountain is steep. Do not expect ease. Do not expect applause. Do not expect the path to be smooth. The mountain of greatness was never meant to be climbed by the masses. It was designed for the few who are willing to bleed, to sweat, to sacrifice, to fight with every fiber of their being. But when you reach the summit, when you stand where only giants have stood, when you breathe the rare air of fulfillment and legacy, you will understand why the climb was necessary. You will see that the pain was the price, the doubt was the test, the setbacks were the training. And you will whisper to yourself, "It was worth it. It was always worth it." But let us go deeper, because rewiring your mind is not a one-time choice. It is a battle fought daily, in silence, in secret, where no one applauds and no one sees. It is not the grand gesture that reshapes you, but the quiet decisions repeated over time. The small moment when you choose study over distraction. The instant you rise early instead of surrendering to sleep. The pause where you silence doubt and replace it with faith. This is where most fail, not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack talent, but because they lack endurance in the unseen hours. They live for the spotlight, for the result, for the glory. But greatness is forged in obscurity. The oak tree is not made visible when it towers. It is made when the seed splits beneath the soil, in darkness, unseen by the world. And so it is with your mind. Your thoughts are the soil. If you plant weeds, fear, envy, excuses, they will choke every seed of greatness before it grows. But if you plant courage, persistence, and faith, the harvest will be unimaginable. The soil does not care what you plant. It will return to you exactly what you sow, and your mind is no different. Do you see why so many remain poor, both in money and in spirit? They have wired themselves for scarcity. They believe there is not enough to go around. So they grasp, they hoard, they envy, they complain. And in doing so, they repel abundance. Meanwhile, those who see the world as abundant create wealth because their minds are tuned to opportunity instead of limitation. Henry Ford once said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." That is not a cliche. That is a law. Your mind will prove you right every time. If you think you can't, your brain will find every reason to stop. If you think you can, your brain will search for solutions until it breaks through. This is why belief is not just important, it is everything. Belief is the switch that activates the machinery of success. Without belief, you are paralyzed. With belief, you are unstoppable. But belief is not blind hope, it is trained conviction. It is feeding your mind daily with words, images, and actions that reinforce your destiny. Think of it this way. Every negative thought is like rust on steel. Left unchecked, it corrodes your foundation until you collapse under pressure. But every positive thought, every affirmation, Every declaration of faith is like sharpening a sword. Over time, your mind becomes a weapon that cuts through doubt, fear, and mediocrity. But beware, your environment is either sharpening your sword or dulling it. If you surround yourself with cynics, critics, and complainers, you are wiring yourself for failure. Their words are viruses infecting your brain. That is why Napoleon Hill warned, guard your mind as you would guard a treasure chest. Because it is one. Surround yourself with builders, visionaries, fighters, those who ignite your hunger instead of extinguishing it. Choose carefully who speaks into your life, because their influence is rewiring you daily, whether you realize it or not. Wealth and purpose are not solo journeys. They are magnified or destroyed by the company you keep. And then comes action. Action is the spark that ignites everything you've rewired internally. Too many people drown in planning, preparing, waiting for the perfect moment. But the perfect moment never arrives. Wealth does not come to the hesitant. Purpose does not reveal itself to the idle. Action is the proof of belief. Think of Walt Disney. Before Disneyland existed, before the world believed in his vision, he was a bankrupt dreamer with nothing but sketches and imagination. He faced rejection after rejection, mocked by bankers, doubted by executives. But he acted. He built piece by piece, day by day, until the impossible became inevitable. That is the secret. The impossible is only impossible until it is done. Every empire, every invention, every revolution seemed impossible until someone dared to act. Wealth and purpose are not mysteries locked in the heavens. They are unlocked by those who move when others stand still. And the beauty is this: you do not need to see the entire path. You only need to see the next step. When you move, doors open. When you act, momentum builds. And momentum is wealth's most loyal ally. It multiplies effort, compounds results, and propels you beyond what talent or luck alone could ever achieve. Do not wait for courage to act. Act, and courage will follow. Do not wait for clarity to begin. Begin, and clarity will emerge. The rewired mind does not beg for certainty. It creates it through action. But here lies the danger. The moment you start moving toward wealth and purpose, resistance awakens. The world will test your resolve. Friends may laugh. Family may doubt. Failures may multiply. The path will not feel like progress. It will feel like punishment. But that is the crucible in which greatness is formed. Steel is useless until it has been through fire. Diamonds are worthless until crushed by pressure. And you, too, must endure the furnace of adversity. But do not curse the fire. It is shaping you. Do not fear the pressure. It is refining you. Every struggle is proof that you are advancing. The enemy does not fight the complacent. Resistance only rises when destiny is near. So, when the weight feels unbearable, when the nights are long and the victories rare, whisper to yourself, this is the sign. This is the proof I am on the right path. Because average is easy. Mediocrity is comfortable. Only the chosen face the storm. And if you refuse to quit, if you refuse to break, the storm becomes the wind that carries you forward. That is how the rewired mind operates. It transforms resistance into reinforcement, setbacks into stepping stones, adversity into advantage. Every person who ever carved their name into history understood this. Adversity is not the enemy. It is the initiation. Andrew Carnegie came to America as a poor Scottish immigrant, working in a factory for pennies a day. By all appearances, he was destined to remain among the masses, crushed by circumstance. But his mind refused that destiny. He devoured books while others wasted hours in idleness. He believed that knowledge was wealth before wealth itself appeared. He rewired his mind to see opportunity in a land where most saw only hardship. And from that seed of thought, he rose to become one of the wealthiest men of his time, using his fortune not only to build an empire, but to build libraries, universities, and opportunities for millions. What made Carnegie wealthy was not the steel industry alone. It was the steel of his mind. That is the foundation you must build within yourself. But wealth without purpose is empty. It is a glittering cage, a throne that feels like a prison. Look at those who have accumulated riches yet feel restless, hollow, and lost. Their minds were wired for money, but not for meaning. They chased numbers and possessions, but neglected the deeper calling that gives wealth its true power. Purpose is the anchor that steadies you when storms come. It is the compass that guides you when the path disappears. Without it, riches rot the soul. With it, even modest beginnings bloom into legacies that outlive generations. Think of Thomas Edison. He was not driven by the pursuit of wealth alone. He was consumed by purpose. Purpose was why he endured thousands of failed experiments without surrender. Purpose was why he could face ridicule, sleepless nights, and countless setbacks. Wealth followed because purpose was the engine, not the destination. This is the rewiring. To shift your mind from chasing wealth as a prize to pursuing purpose as the fire. When you live in purpose, wealth is magnetized to you because wealth flows toward value, and purpose-driven people create value beyond measure. But here is the tragedy. Most people will never find this alignment. Why? Because they listen to the wrong voices. They are told to play safe, to fit in, to be practical. Their parents, teachers, friends, though well-meaning, often hand them the blueprint for mediocrity. Get a job, follow the rules, avoid risk, stay comfortable. And comfort becomes the coffin of their potential. The rewired mind rebels against this. It dares to ask, what if my life was meant for more? What if the dream in my chest is not foolish, but a command? What if playing safe is the most dangerous path of all? This rebellion is not loud or reckless. It is quiet, disciplined, relentless. It is the refusal to let society's limits become your limits. It is the decision to trade comfort for growth, distraction for focus, fear for faith. Do not misunderstand. This path is not easy. It demands sacrifice. The rewired mind is forged by the willingness to delay pleasure for a higher prize. While others chase the weekend, you chase the vision. While others drown in entertainment, you drink from the fountain of discipline. While others look for shortcuts, you embrace the long road. Discipline is not punishment. It is freedom. It is the muscle that keeps your mind from collapsing under temptation. It is the guardian that protects your vision when the world offers easier, softer options. Those who build wealth and purpose are not the most gifted. They are the most disciplined. Abraham Lincoln is proof. He was born in a log cabin, received less than a year of formal schooling, and failed repeatedly in business and politics. But he disciplined his mind to endure rejection, ridicule, and defeat. And because he refused to break, he carried the weight of a divided nation on his shoulders and preserved its soul. That is the power of a rewired mind fueled by discipline and anchored in purpose. But discipline alone is not enough. You must also cultivate adaptability. Life will test you with unexpected turns. The market will crash. People will betray you. Plans will collapse. And in those moments, rigid minds shatter. But rewired minds bend and evolve. They do not cling to what was. They create what must be. Look at Henry Ford. His first 2 automobile companies failed. Investors abandoned him. Yet he adapted, refined, persisted, and eventually revolutionized not only transportation but the way the world works. He did not see failure as final. He saw it as feedback. That is the lesson. When your mind is wired for wealth and purpose, failure becomes a teacher, not an undertaker. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, what now? You stop blaming circumstance and start shaping it. Gratitude then becomes your shield. Not shallow gratitude for convenience, but deep gratitude for struggle. Because struggle is what carves greatness into the human soul. When you are grateful in the fire, you cannot be broken by it. Gratitude rewires your mind to see possibility where others only see pain. Picture this. 2 men lose everything in a financial collapse. One curses the world, drowns in bitterness, and sinks into obscurity. The other, though broken, gives thanks for the chance to begin again, to rebuild, to reimagine. That gratitude fuels resilience, resilience fuels action, and action restores abundance. The difference is not in the event. It is in the wiring of the mind. And so the truth emerges. Wealth and purpose are not about luck, talent, or privilege. They are about the architecture of thought, the wiring of belief, the discipline of action, and the resilience of spirit. You are not a victim of your mind. You are the engineer of it. And what you build inside will always create what appears outside. We live in an age where distractions scream louder than dreams. Endless notifications, mindless scrolling, shallow comparisons, all designed to hijack the wiring of your mind. If you are not intentional, the world will program you for mediocrity. You will trade your birthright of greatness for digital crumbs of dopamine. That is why rewiring is not optional, it is survival. If you do not master your mind, someone else will. Corporations, algorithms, advertisers, they spend billions to capture your attention because they know that whoever owns your attention owns your destiny. But you must reclaim it. You must decide that your mind is sacred territory, and not everyone has the right to plant seeds in it. Guard your mind as a king guards his throne. Be ruthless about what enters. Every book you read, every voice you listen to, every thought you entertain is a brick in the architecture of your destiny. Build carefully, build intentionally, build with fire. Look at Steve Jobs. He was not just an inventor. He was a curator of his own mind. He read widely, studied art, philosophy, and design. He absorbed the wisdom of many disciplines and rewired those ideas into products that reshaped human history. His wealth was not accidental. It was the byproduct of a rewired mind obsessed with vision, simplicity, and beauty. Oprah Winfrey rose from poverty, abuse, and rejection to become one of the most influential women in the world. How? By refusing to let circumstance wire her mind for victimhood. She chose gratitude. She chose growth. She chose vision. And from that mental soil grew a life of wealth, purpose, and impact. Elon Musk was mocked, dismissed, and even ridiculed for dreaming too big. Electric cars? Impossible. Colonizing Mars? Laughable. Yet he did not surrender his mind to the opinions of doubters. He rewired his thoughts to live in the realm of possibility. And while others settled for comfort, he pushed the boundaries of human potential. The pattern is clear. Those who rewire their minds are not free of struggle, they are masters of it. They take the same pain that breaks others and forge it into fuel. They take the same doubts that paralyze others and turn them into stepping stones. They see the same obstacles but interpret them differently. And that is the core of wealth and purpose, interpretation. Two people face the same problem. One says, "This is the end." The other says, "This is the beginning." Two people lose their job. One sees disaster. The other sees a doorway to reinvention. Two people fail in business. One buries the dream. The other digs deeper and discovers a greater version of themselves. Your reality is not dictated by events, but by the meaning you assign to them. That meaning is the wiring of your mind. Change the wiring, change the meaning. Change the meaning, change your life. But here is where most people falter. They know what they want, but they never decide. They wait. They hesitate. They flirt with their dream, but never marry it. And hesitation is the silent killer of destiny. Decide. That single act has built empires and toppled excuses. When Walt Disney was fired from his first job for lacking creativity, he decided to prove them wrong. When Colonel Sanders was rejected over 1,000 times with his chicken recipe, he decided he would not stop knocking until someone opened the door. When J.K. Rowling was broke, depressed, and rejected by 12 publishers, she decided her story was worth telling. Decision rewires the mind by cutting off the exits. It says, "This is my path, this is my vision, and I will burn every bridge behind me until I reach it." That is the mindset that turns ordinary men and women into legends. But decision alone is not enough. It must be followed by relentless, disciplined action. Not bursts of excitement, not scattered efforts, but daily, grinding consistency. Every day you choose action, you carve a new groove into your brain, strengthening the wiring of wealth and purpose. You see, the brain is like a muscle. The more you exercise a thought, the stronger it becomes. Think scarcity every day, and you wire scarcity. Think abundance every day, and you wire abundance. Choose fear, you wire fear. Choose courage, you wire courage. Over time, your dominant thoughts harden into the architecture of your destiny. And so, ask yourself, what thoughts are you rehearsing daily? What beliefs are you reinforcing every morning and every night? Because your future wealth, your future purpose, your future legacy, they are being built in the silence of your daily thoughts. Do not underestimate this. The greatest empires, the greatest fortunes, the greatest revolutions, each began not with armies, not with capital, not with luck, but with a single thought that refused to die. The rewired mind does not wait for permission. It does not beg for approval. It does not cower before rejection. It decides, it acts, it adapts, it endures. And in doing so, it bends reality to its vision. The average person will never taste this, because they never master the battlefield of the mind. They let fear dictate. They let doubt decide. They let society script their life. But you are not average. You are not here to blend in. You are here to rewire, to rise, to rewrite the very code of your destiny. And if you dare to do this, not tomorrow, not someday, but today, then wealth will not be a dream, it will be a consequence. Purpose will not be a question, it will be your compass. And your life will become proof that the mind, once rewired, is the most powerful engine of creation on earth. The tragedy of life is not that people aim too high and miss. It is that they aim too low and hit. Most never even test the boundaries of their potential, because their wiring has convinced them that comfort is safer than greatness. They become prisoners in cells they built themselves, locked behind bars of doubt, fear, and procrastination. But wealth, true wealth, is not found in comfort. It is found in courage. Purpose is not discovered in safety. It is uncovered in struggle. If you want a life most people will never have, you must be willing to do what most people will never do. History whispers this truth in every age. Abraham Lincoln, a man who faced more failures than victories, refused to let defeat rewire him into despair. He lost elections, businesses, and loved ones, yet every setback carved into him the resilience that would one day carry him into the White House. His wealth was not measured in money, but in impact, in vision, in purpose. Henry Ford, mocked for his idea of mass-producing cars, wired his mind with one conviction: I will build a car for the multitudes. He failed, went bankrupt, and was ridiculed by experts. But he did not surrender. And when the Model T rolled off the assembly line, it was not just a machine. It was proof that a rewired mind can change the world. Thomas Edison, after thousands of failed experiments, was asked how he kept going. He said, I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that will not work. That is the voice of a rewired mind. Where the average man sees failure, the visionary sees refinement. Where others quit, he adapts. Where others curse the darkness, he invents light. And what about you? Will your story be another tale of wasted potential, or will it be proof that you dared to rewire your mind? You see, the mind is like a garden. Neglect it, and weeds of doubt, fear, and mediocrity will take root. Nurture it, and it will yield harvests beyond imagination. But here is the secret. You cannot plant weeds all week and expect roses on Sunday. You cannot think small, act small, dream small, and expect wealth and purpose to fall into your lap. Every day is planting season. Every decision, every thought, every habit is a seed. And the soil of your mind never sleeps. It grows whatever you plant, whether it be weeds or fruit. So the question is not, will my mind grow something? The question is, what will I choose to plant? Plant gratitude, and you will see opportunities where others only see obstacles. Plant vision, and you will see a future so vivid it pulls you toward it like gravity. Plant discipline, and you will achieve in 1 year what the undisciplined never touch in a lifetime. Plant courage, and you will walk where others fear to tread. But planting is not enough. You must also uproot. You must tear out the lies that were sown into you by fear, by critics, by failure, by your past. The lie that you are not enough. The lie that wealth is for others, but not for you. The lie that purpose is something you stumble upon by accident instead of something you forge with fire. Uproot these weeds, or they will choke the garden of your destiny. And as you plant and uproot, something miraculous begins to happen. You begin to attract. The rewired mind becomes a magnet, not for luck, not for chance, but for alignment. You begin to notice doors where others see walls. You begin to meet people who resonate with your vision. You begin to stumble into opportunities that look like coincidence, but in truth, are the echoes of your inner wiring. This is not magic, it is alignment. The universe responds to the frequency of your mind. Fear broadcasts scarcity, and scarcity finds you. Faith broadcasts abundance, and abundance finds you. Doubt broadcasts confusion, and confusion multiplies. Clarity broadcasts direction, and direction unfolds before you. That is why clarity is wealth. Purpose is wealth. Vision is wealth. Long before money shows up in your bank account, it must exist in the vault of your mind. But let me give you the hardest truth. Rewiring is not instant. It is not one journal entry, one motivational video, one spark of inspiration. It is a lifelong process of intentional thought, relentless action, and disciplined belief. The mind you want must be sculpted daily, carved by habits, sharpened by failure, and strengthened by persistence. Look at the sculptor. He takes a raw block of marble and chips away, day after day, until beauty emerges. Wealth and purpose are no different. You are the sculptor, your mind is the marble, and discipline is the chisel. Every day you strike, every day you refine, every day you remove what does not belong. Slowly, the masterpiece emerges, the version of yourself that was hidden beneath the stone of mediocrity. Most will never finish their sculpture. They will quit halfway, blaming the stone, blaming the hammer, blaming the world. But those who endure, they uncover greatness. They carve a life of wealth, purpose, and legacy. And here is where you must decide. Will you be the sculptor who stops at the first crack, or the one who chisels until the masterpiece stands revealed? Because the truth is, the raw material is already inside you. The question is not whether you have it. It is whether you will dig deep enough to bring it out. You must understand this. Every day you delay rewiring your mind, the old program runs unchecked. And the old program was not written by you. It was written by fear, by society, by those who gave up on their own dreams. If you do not take control, someone else already has. But the moment you take the wheel, everything changes. Suddenly, you are not a passenger drifting wherever the current of life takes you. You are the captain, steering into the storm with fire in your eyes, knowing that storms create sailors, and sailors discover new worlds. The world has never been moved forward by those who stayed in the harbor. It has been moved by the few who dared to rewire their minds for voyages most called impossible. Columbus, who sailed into the unknown. The Wright brothers, who refused to believe that man was chained to the earth. Elon Musk, who bet everything on rockets exploding just to prove they could one day reach the stars. These are not superhumans. They are simply men whose wiring refused to accept limitation. They chose to see possibility where others saw madness. And that choice, that wiring, changed everything. So what about you? When will you rewire your life? When will you stop waiting for permission and start commanding your destiny? When will you understand that every second of hesitation is another seed of mediocrity planted in the soil of your mind? Listen carefully. The rich in spirit, the wealthy in purpose, are not born different. They are not chosen by fate. They are chosen by decision, by rewiring, by choosing to think, believe, and act at a level that the average never dares. And here is the brutal truth. Average is the death of wealth, the enemy of purpose. Average is seductive because it is safe. Average tells you that tomorrow is good enough, that one day is a plan. But average is a lie. And the only antidote is transformation. Transformation is uncomfortable. It requires sacrifice. It demands you give up who you are for who you could become. It forces you to leave behind the comfort of the familiar for the fire of the unknown. But in that fire, the old wiring burns away. And from the ashes, a new mind is forged. That is why discipline matters. That is why habits matter. That is why your environment matters. If you surround yourself with mediocrity, do not be surprised when mediocrity multiplies. If you feed your mind with doubt, do not be surprised when doubt becomes your destiny. But if you flood your soul with vision, if you walk with those who burn with purpose, if you live by the rhythm of relentless action, you cannot help but become extraordinary. Think of steel. It is nothing but iron until it passes through fire. It is the furnace that hardens it, the heat that strengthens it, the pounding of the hammer that shapes it. Wealth and purpose are forged the same way. Life will put you in the furnace. Life will test you. Life will hammer you again and again. But if your mind is rewired to see the process not as punishment, but as preparation, you will emerge unbreakable. And the unbreakable cannot be stopped. Do you not see? Every great figure in history walked through the fire. Carnegie worked in factories before he built an empire. Oprah was told she was unfit for television before she built a media kingdom. Disney was fired for lacking creativity before he drew a mouse that would conquer the world. They were not spared pain. They were not spared failure. What they were spared was surrender, because their minds were rewired to interpret rejection as redirection, failure as refinement, obstacles as opportunity. That is the wiring you must adopt. That is the lens through which you must see your life. And once you do, something awakens within you, a hunger, not just for money, not just for success, but for impact, for legacy, for the kind of wealth that outlives your heartbeat. Because real wealth is not measured in digits. It is measured in difference. Purpose is not about how much you can take. It is about how much you can give, how much you can build, how much you can leave behind. If money is your only target, you will hit an empty prize. But if purpose is your aim, wealth will be the byproduct. And together, they will make your life unstoppable. So now the choice lies before you. Do you keep running the program of doubt, of fear, of hesitation? Or do you rewire your mind to operate at the level of kings and creators, visionaries and builders? The clock is ticking. Life is not waiting. The graveyards are full of unwritten books, unbuilt businesses, unsung songs, unfulfilled destinies. Do not let your dream be buried there too. Stand up. Decide. Rewire. For wealth. For purpose. For legacy. Because in the end, the only tragedy greater than death is to die without having lived. The truth is this. Wealth without purpose is poverty disguised in gold. And purpose without wealth is potential chained by limitation. To live fully, you must possess both. Not one. Not someday. Both. A mind rewired for wealth is a mind rewired for freedom. And a mind rewired for purpose is a mind rewired for immortality. You are not here to merely survive. You are not here to drift through decades hoping life spares you pain. You are here to rise, to fight, to create, to lead, to give, to burn so brightly that generations yet unborn will feel the heat of your flame. This is not fantasy. This is your inheritance as a human being. Every invention, every breakthrough, every movement that shaped history was born from a single mind that refused to stay small. Edison lit the night because his mind was rewired to see failure as feedback. Lincoln freed a nation because his mind was rewired to see division as a challenge, not a curse. Mandela endured decades in prison because his mind was rewired to see chains as temporary, but freedom as eternal. And now the torch has been passed to you. What will you do with it? If you choose comfort, you will join the billions who die with regret etched into their souls. If you choose fear, you will spend your life building another man's dream. If you choose hesitation, you will live as a ghost in your own story. But if you choose to rewire your mind, if you choose the narrow path of vision, discipline, and relentless action, everything changes. The world that once felt heavy begins to bend. Doors that were locked begin to open. People who once doubted you begin to follow you. Opportunities that seemed invisible appear as if summoned by your very will. This is not magic. It is alignment. When your mind is rewired for wealth and purpose, you become a magnet for the life you were meant to live. So ask yourself, are you ready to break the chains of mediocrity? Are you ready to silence the lies that told you to settle? Are you ready to declare war on the average, on the excuses, on the voice inside that whispers, not you, not now? Because wealth does not wait. Purpose does not wait. Life does not wait. And if you wait, if you hesitate, life will move on without you. But if you rise, if you step forward, if you decide here and now that enough is enough, that you will not live another day in the shadows of fear, then today is your rebirth. Today is the day your mind is rewired. Today is the day you begin to walk not as a victim of life, but as a master of it. Understand this. The power has always been within you. It was never in the economy, never in the government, never in luck or chance. The wealth you seek, the purpose you crave, it begins and ends in your own mind. Your thoughts are the architects of your destiny. Your beliefs are the blueprint. Your actions are the construction. And your persistence is the foundation that will never crack. So stand tall. Declare it. Write it into your being. I am wealth. I am purpose. I am unstoppable. And from this day forward, walk as if the world belongs to you, because it does. Not in arrogance, but in responsibility. Not in greed, but in gratitude. Not in selfishness, but in service. Because true wealth expands when shared, and true purpose multiplies when lived out loud. This is your charge. This is your calling. This is your destiny. The world will tell you it's impossible. Average minds will call you crazy. Weak voices will beg you to slow down, to play it safe, to join them in their quiet desperation. Smile at them, but never join them. For you were not born for the ordinary. You were born for the extraordinary. And when you doubt, when the nights feel too long and the battles feel endless, remember this. Everything great that has ever been achieved was achieved by men and women who refused to quit. Your struggle is proof of your strength. Your pain is proof of your progress. Your persistence is proof of your purpose. So keep moving, keep fighting, keep believing. One day, you will look back and realize the battle was worth it. The fire was worth it. The rewiring was worth it. Because you will not only have built wealth, you will have built a life of meaning. A life of freedom, a life of legacy. And when that day comes, when your name is whispered as a symbol of courage and greatness, you will know in your heart, it began here. With a choice, with a decision, with the courage to rewire your mind for wealth and purpose. So rise, decide, become, because the world is waiting for you, and time will not wait forever.